What's up? This is Kennedy Copeland, and you're checking out the 3 Count Podcast.
When in it, an unbelievable weight that you might hate, but you can't even.
Dang, I pass what you find that drag ball at.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right. You could call me your Sherpa, the man who leads you up this mountain called wrestling. And I'm always asking for advice because you know what? To get to the top, sometimes you just need a little bit of help. So it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And today, you know who's entering the ring? No, because I'm going to tell you who's entering the ring, okay? You can find these guys on YouTube. You can find these guys podcasting left and right. And we got one half of them. Welcome this man, Brady. He is the man, the co-founder of the Heel Marks podcast. What's up?
What is up, man? Happy to be here. That's right. Custodian of charisma, ophthalmologist of optimism. And as you said, I'm not a smart mark. I'm a heel mark, man. What is up?
What is up? What is up, man? I was super hyped, man. I sent you out the message and I saw that you were like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, let's go.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yo, all right, man. So for our viewers who don't know, we just gonna ask, man, who is the Heel Marks podcast?
I mean, we are exactly what we sound like. We are marks for heels. You know, obviously we mark up for heels. Sometimes we are the heels. Sometimes we're the marks. But it's me and Danielle. We've known each other since we were kids, and eventually just were like, let's start a wrestling podcast because all we do, we like to talk about wrestling. So let's sharpshoot the shit, as we call it. And we love going to wrestling shows. We love talking about it. We love meeting wrestlers at wrestling shows and getting them to come on and talk about it. And so, yeah, man, that's pretty much the deal. We have opinions, and we created a platform so that people have to listen to them.
It's fun too, like when you tell people like you have to tune into our podcast and you're listening to our opinions. And then I feel like anytime I listen to a podcast, especially about wrestling, like I just find myself talking to the podcast, knowing that they're not listening to me.
Right.
Still talking. I'm like, yo, I have an opinion too. Why aren't you?
Dude, sometimes I'll have to catch myself like pausing the podcast because it's like, all right, you guys need to stop talking because I've got thoughts I got to get out right now. And then it's like, wait a minute. No, now you're actually just talking to yourself. Let me just put that podcast back on. But yeah, man, a lot of those things, it's all about being interactive, which is why a lot of times, you know, we like to go live and then the live chat can like talk in and we'll hear the shit that they want to say and stuff like that. But yeah, those podcast conversations can be really like contagious to want to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, like I know for like us when we do the Sunday debate show, like we go live and we have it on YouTube and Facebook, and we let people come in like chat with us all the time, and we get some really good responses sometimes from fans who are just like, you know, you didn't bring up this point or that point or this point, and we're like, because we don't care about your point, it's only about the 4 people here on the screen.
Right.
But we genuinely love our fans, and we definitely like talking to them and stuff about like whatever wrestling topics they want to talk about.
Right.
But it's crazy to think because we right before we wanted to go live, you asked me a question. You asked me, am I a WWE guy? Am I an AEW guy? Or do I just like wrestling? And I was like, I just like wrestling, period. And it was interesting because you were about to say something. I was like, hold on, let's go get the recording first, and then we can cut into it. Because something that I was gonna mention, right, is that we already do it to ourselves. Like we're a huge tribalist already, right? So if you're not on team AEW, you're on team WWE, and if you're not on there, then you know you're just this indie mark, and then like you have all these like crazy things happening. I was like, and then you have people outside of the community that are like, you guys are just nerds. Like,
yeah, well, that's the whole thing, and that's what we were saying before. You were like, all right, hold on, stop. Let's start recording, because I personally, and I catch myself talking about this like all the time on our shows. I hate the whole WWE versus AEW thing in terms of a fan. You know, you have to pick a side, because as wrestling fans, it makes us look stupid for multiple reasons. The biggest being, they hate us already. And by they, I mean like the people that don't watch wrestling. They hate the fact that wrestling's on 5 nights a week now. They got to see our commercials during sports. They hate that people watch it and talk about it. They're like, why do you watch it? It's fake, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it's like they already don't get it. So now we're going to be fighting amongst each other about who's watching the better wrestling? Like, what? Did people watch Friends and then make fun of the people that watch Seinfeld? Like, are you kidding me? I know I totally aged myself with those references, but
no. That is a great point, because I feel like I don't see it anywhere else, right? So my wife loves to watch like reality TV shows, and she's like watching The Bachelor and The Real Housewives or whatever is on that day, right? And I genuinely tell her, I was like, I see why you like this show. It's the same reason why I like wrestling, right? It's just trash soap opera that it just entertains us. I was like, I just don't understand. Like, wrestling is the only place, right, where people legitimately think their opinion matters, right? Because I don't see those same people going to Broadway and sitting in a stage and then booing the cast of Rent because the song's not being sung the way they think it should be sung. Like, I just don't understand. Like, and we're all fighting about it. Meanwhile, the people outside, like the people who are watching like football, are like, I don't understand why you guys like wrestling. And it's like, well, it's the same reason why you like football. Like, you play fantasy football. Like, you don't even control a team.
And it's like, and speaking of football, so it's like, yes, so I'm a Giants fan. So obviously, division wise, yeah, I think the Eagles suck. And, you know, if you like them, you suck, and whoever. But at the same time, I'm a football fan. So by week 4 or 5, when the Giants have started sucking again and we're mathematically eliminated, and every week I'm still watching football. I'm going to watch whoever's playing. I'll look forward to a good game because I enjoy football. So if you like wrestling, and especially now as we're watching people that were with WWE, and you were probably complaining that you don't see on TV as much, now they have left. And AEW might pick them up. Impact might pick them up. They're on TV again. Are you not a fan of them? Are you really just a fan of whatever these companies give you? Like, I don't get it. Me and Danielle, we go to indie shows all the time. We see these wrestlers. We become fans of them. Luckily, some of them come on our show. And then it's like, oh, like JD Drake, the blue collar badass, member of the Wingmen on AEW. He's a hilarious motherfucker, by the way. But so we've been a huge fan of his for a while, even before he came on our show. He's on AEW. So obviously we're going to watch any opportunity to see him wrestle, whether it's Dark, Elevation, Dynamite, like, I don't care. But at the same time, there's people like Mansoor over on Raw now. And like, he came on our show and that was dope. So like, you know what I mean? Like, if I support a wrestler and I enjoy wrestling, I'm going to watch good wrestling wherever it's available to me. And now it's available 5 fucking nights a week.
Right. And it's crazy too, because like I see a lot of these guys that are out there are like, well, so AEW just signed this guy, you know, so they're just like a B-rated WWE show. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care that Malachi Black is on AEW. I don't care that Andrade El Idolo is on AEW. I don't care, because you're telling me the same things. Like, I grew up from the WWE WCW era where I watched Nash and Hall when they were Razor and Diesel. I watched Hogan in WWF. I watched Flair in WWF. I'm like, I watched these guys all from the. I don't care. And then those guys from WCW going to WWE, people especially like Chris Jericho, like, I don't see you knocking WWE for picking up WCW guys. Like, it's wild to me.
And with like you mentioned, like football, like you're a worker, right? So let's say I'm playing football. I'm a football player. Obviously, I want to get drafted by the Giants, but anyone who takes me, okay, let's go to the races. So you're a worker. Maybe you always dreamed of having a WrestleMania moment, but I'm sure you got to work where you got to work in terms of indie shows. If it gets you to Impact or gets you to AEW, you're going to be happy to be there. Yeah. And you would hope that people aren't going to just stop watching your matches and stop supporting you because, oh, wait, you're with AEW? That sucks. I don't watch AEW. No, I don't do it.
Because I mean, think about like the people, like, well, especially like a journeyman like AJ Styles, right? Predominantly. People knew him from TNA. People knew him, you know, outside of in the indie scene, and then he goes to ROH, he goes to New Japan, and then he comes to WWE, and then he's in WrestleMania. I just couldn't imagine like people be like, nah. You're an ROH guy. Like, what? Like, no, you enjoyed him because he was like very good. And mind you, speaking of football, like, I'm a Broncos fan. So if I'm playing college football, which I'm way too old for that, by the way, now, but if I'm playing college football and I want to get drafted by the Broncos, but I get drafted by the Raiders, I mean, yeah, my allegiance is going to change because I got drafted by another team. And I'm like, I hope my fans remember, like, yeah, this whole time I was talking about being a Broncos fan. I was like, for God's sakes, we had Shane Ray on our team, and Ray was a Chiefs fan. He had it tattooed on his back after the Broncos or before the Broncos won the Super Bowl. I was like, bro, like, get out of here. Like, you, as fans, we have to stop being so tribalistic, and we just have to accept all of our wrestling. And yes, you can have your likes towards one type, but it's not necessary that you're like, it's so much to the point where you're like, I hate AEW because they're not WWE. Like, stop it.
Right.
So.
And you mentioned guys like Malachi Black and Moxley. So and for the record, I want to specify this. I feel like my issue is probably mostly with the WWE fans that refuse to give AEW a chance, only because while I still feel like anyone, even like the people that say, oh, well, I don't watch WWE, you're a mark, I'm an AEW, you know, like I still think you sound just as foolish, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because WWE's been around for years. You probably were watching them, they've turned you off, and now you're just kind of like, okay, I'm done watching them ruin guys like Dean Ambrose or Aleister Black. Over here in AEW, I get to watch them do their own thing and be creative in their own ways. You look at people like Everrise in NXT. I don't know how many people knew them from Shikara beforehand. I did though, so like when they were in NXT, I'm like, oh, great. But NXT really didn't do anything with it. It just seemed cool to watch them because anytime you put them on the screen, they're going to shine. So like in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're in NXT cutting promos, but they didn't let them work. In AEW, in like 3 to 4 weeks of being jobbers to the stars, they made you look forward to seeing them, hearing them, like it's a big deal now. So in my mind, if anything that Everrise did in NXT made you think, I wish I could see them more, well, now you can. And it's on Wednesday nights or whatever nights they post the YouTube shows. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like they're putting them, they're giving you mic time, ring time. They're giving it to you. It's an alternative. And I love, for me, AEW is the perfect alternative because, as I mentioned, I get frustrated when people like Andrade leave the company and you're like, this guy is talented. Where can I see him wrestle now? Well, now we know where. You can see him wrestle in AEW, and you can see him wrestle in AAA and wherever else he works. I'm sure New Japan's going to be calling him soon. So it's like, there's so much good wrestling. I don't, if you're a wrestling fan, then you should be ecstatic. And if you're a WWE fan, then I feel like they might have brainwashed you at some point. Like just, I mean, like if you only are like, this is the only wrestling I want to enjoy. Like I personally just can't relate, you know?
Yeah. And I tell people, like, because remember before, maybe even before AEW was like a thing, man, you were either the Raw guy or you were a SmackDown guy. God forbid if you were one or the other. And now all of a sudden, now the AEW's around, it's like, well, all right, either you're WWE or you're. It's like, wait, no, do you guys join forces to attack one? Like, is that what we do now? Like,
Right.
It blows my mind, man. But I gotta know, man, like what? Okay, so you and Danielle obviously were longtime friends. You guys wanted to start up this podcast. Like, what was the moment where you guys decided, you know what, like, we have this opinion, we need to talk about this, and like, how did you guys end up making you guys stuff?
Well, so the truth is, I mean, I had been pestering her about wanting to do a podcast with her for years. So I don't remember the moment where I finally broke her down and she was finally like, okay, fine, Brady, let's do it. I do remember it seemed to happen out of nowhere. Like it was probably like the 13th millionth time. I was like, yo, let's just do a podcast. She was like, all right, fine, let's do it. But like, I've always, obviously, you know, like if you're a wrestling fan, like if you're like a Mark, there's always been at least some part of your life where you kind of envision yourself doing it. My body doesn't have it in me. My mind is very adventurous in terms of wanting to be a wrestler, but my body just never did in terms of just injuries and mad shit I went through. So, but like I've always been very, like anything with a microphone I can do. Like I'm a host, I'm an MC, I've done comedy, improv, stand-up, you name it. So like anything with a mic, I know I can do. And I kind of just wanted to carve out a place for us, but you know, I wanted to carve out a place for myself in this industry because it's like I said, in the ring, it was never going to happen. But I don't. Where do these managers come from? You know, I've done sports announcing. How do I parlay that into the ring? So I'm just kind of like, honestly, I have no idea. But all I know is I'm outside looking in. Let me just find a way inside. And so the heel marks and whatever, you know, however big or small that platform is. That's what we got right now, and I'm gonna try and ride that bitch till the wheels fall off.
I like it though, man, because that's where like you start with is just the passion side. Like, you like you said, you're passionate about wrestling. This has been your thing, and you guys finally got together, and you're like after pestering her. It's funny because like with Chaz when we had the debate show, like I was on another network called Franken Culture presents Frankensteiner. I always mess that up, but Franken Culture presents Frankensteiner, and
Nice.
I brought on Chaz one time, and I was like, hey man, like just come talk to us about wrestling. We can have just BS it. And then like that podcast bug must have bit him hard. Cause then he came to me and he was like, hey man, I want to start a podcast, like a debate show, kind of like Skip and Shannon. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm in. And he was just like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I ended up leaving the other podcast and came here. I was like, yo. And yeah, and you're right, man. Once you start doing it, you're like, I'm just gonna ride this thing till everything collapses. And then I decided I was working in the area that you're not supposed to be working in, the backyard. And then from there, I was like, okay, I was like, I'm trying to go pro. And so it was like 3 months later, like I was being trained. And then like 2 months after that, I brought Chaz in and Chaz started training. And so we were just like, let's go. And now we're like trying to tear it up on the indie scene now, like up and down on the East Coast.
Yeah, man. Like I'll go to indie shows and people will act like, "Oh man, the heel marks! I didn't know you were coming." And in the back of my mind, it's kind of like, "All right, you guys are now like acting like I'm a big deal. Maybe you heard of the podcast, seen us on Instagram, but it's like I want to ask you, hey, who needs a manager? Like who needs someone to cut a promo about them real quick? Give me their name. Like let's go. Like you know what I mean? Like so I'm constantly trying to like hustle my way in here almost. Like listen, I gotta come in one day with like a Steve Harvey looking suit and just portray a character, Kane and everything.
Hey man, like that's kind of where it starts at. You just ask, find a way to like go and help out, and then when someone asks you what your thing is, then you just tell them, and then you just run it from there. Because like I know for me, I was former military, and my trainer was like, "Oh, dude, we should totally get you in, and you could be like this serious mercenary." And I was like, "All right, cool." 6 months of trying it, I was like, this is not working out. I was like, I'm not liking this side. And he's like, well, what do you like? I was like, I like talking shit. And so he's like, all right, well, let's try something with that. And then next thing you know, like here I am now cutting promos with a British accent and talking about how menacing things are.
Yes.
And like just coming off like Deadpool essentially now. It's what
so a few years ago, my boy Grizzly Pattern, shout out Grizzly, and this guy is just kind of like a jack of all trades but master of none, meaning like anything you name, he can do it or has tried to do it. So literally, he tells me, he's like, "Yo, you want to come to this wrestling thing I'm doing?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna wrestle in this like beach league." I'm like, "Wait, you're not trained?" He's like, "No, but I'm gonna pick people up, I'm gonna drop them in the sand." He's like, "I'm a wrestler," and he had his whole name. He was the POT, the pot. He's a huge stoner, like, and so he's like, "Yo, you want to be my manager?" I'm like, can I cut a promo or I just walk you to the ring?" He's like, "You can do whatever you want to do." So I called myself Big Stack Brady Black, and bro, this was years ago. So like, it was long enough where it was funny, but it wasn't like the climate we live in today. So I was kind of able to make these jokes, but because I was Big Stack Brady Black, I told everyone buy black. If it's, like I was all these like phrases that nowadays you obviously cannot make a joke out of. I was just screaming all these things. This man bought black with Big Stack Brady Black. If it's not black, it's whack. Like buy black. Like I was just like go overboard, but it was just so ridiculous and so fun. He won their beach championship. He picked me up on his shoulders. It was like ridiculous. But I'm like, in that moment, I'm just kind of like, all right, bro, like this is some fun shit. Like, so that's like, the dream, being able to like cut promos, managing a wrestler, and just being able to be like Paul Heyman says, just take credit for the talent that you latch yourself onto, right? Like,
I like that though. I like that because then you've like you said, you've already got kind of like a foothold in the business, and you're already like building this like this heat bag for yourself, man. So it's
right. Cool. and it's for the most part, like it's funny because we're the heel marks, but I do try to like, especially like with online and whatever, like we put out, not as much on the show. On the show, we keep it real. But online, I try to put as much positive stuff out there as possible in terms of like, there's so much negativity going on and so many people want to post about it and talk about it. And it's like, listen, man, I want to post about the things I do like. I don't want to post about the things I don't like. I don't want to talk about the things I don't like as much. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much I love about wrestling. There's so much good wrestling happening. As I've said a million times already, 5 nights a week, we've got wrestling on prime time. Like, wherever you want it, it's there. So, like, if you can't find something amazing happening in 1 week of wrestling, like, you're just not looking closely enough.
I've been meaning to go back through like different episodes of just like reading and watching. Because the funny thing is you make it. It's no secret. Like, there is literally something for everybody out there in the wrestling world. And Danhausen had this interview with Chris Van Vliet where he talked about, like, in Cleveland, I think, or Chicago, there's like this really cool like 1920s style where people dress up as like characters, like villain characters, and like wrestle in wrestling matches. Like, to wrestle as a 1920s character, I was like, yo, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I was like, I need to find this promotion.
Danielle took me to my first Kaiju Big Battle show like years ago. And I'm assuming you're laughing, you're familiar with them. I hope so. For those of you who are not, like, educate yourself, because Kaiju Big Battle, and she didn't tell me much about it. She just told me it was wrestling on acid, and that was all I needed to hear. I'm like, all right, let's go. And bro, like, one of the first things I remember seeing is Burger Bear, who I'm in love with. I have like 2 of his t-shirts, and it's exactly as it sounds like. It's a cheeseburger bear, and it's fucking amazing. Like, the second he came out, like, I was in love, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I want to take my little cousins to it. I also want to go when they go to bars and late night. I want to get drunk and watch this again. I have been to a million kaiju shows. They are the coolest. And that's where I'm like, I was like, if we as wrestling fans, right, we are the misfits. We are ostracized. We don't watch sports. We don't watch entertainment. We don't watch TV shows. It's wrestling. It's its own thing. And the people that don't watch it don't even understand it. And for me, I'm like, there are so many different ways to do it. For me, Kaiju Big Battle, I don't know how it hasn't been picked up for like Nickelodeon, PBS, some like children's network, like, and just been like their new Saturday morning TV show. Like, to me, it's the ultimate hybrid, and I personally don't get it.
But yeah, you'll still go on Fox and you'll still watch like Fox Network, and they'll have Power Rangers, and it's in this like 26th season, which I love Power Rangers, by the way. Like, I was an OG Power Rangers fan. Like, we talking like Walter Jones Power Ranger fan. Like, to now, like, to think about it, I was like, yo, like, at some point, like, you're running out of these episodes that were based in Japan, and now you're like, yeah, Kaiju Battles is a thing that has to happen, like, as a Saturday morning show. Like, I 100% agree.
Seriously, like, it's just that it hasn't been exposed to the world. But like, it's one of those things where I truly feel, and it's going to sound ridiculous, but I feel like there are those certain things, how like back in the day, The Rock was kind of a big part, and Stone Cold, of course, but a big part of like what started getting like wrestling even bigger and getting a different audience, because Rock then was, you know, going to Hollywood and doing his thing, and he just kind of transcended. Before he was doing movies, he was becoming like a celebrity outside the world.
Right.
I just feel like nowadays, something like Kaiju, where parents who maybe used to watch wrestling, now they'll watch Kaiju with their kids, and that kind of will just get them back into, let me check what other wrestling is happening like that, you know? Or maybe one day Nick Gage shows up and has a death match with Dr. Cube. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways. We saw what Matt Cardona did by getting involved in GCW, doing something no one thought he could do, and turning the wrestling world on its head. So it's just like, there's no bubble wrestling should be a part of. We burst these bubbles. It can be anything, and anything can be everything.
Right. Well, it's funny because like I said, like we were talking before, like I'm originally from Nebraska, right? So in this little town in Cheyenne, or in Wyoming, which is only like 45 minutes away from where I grew up, right? GCW was out there, and they're running a show, and they didn't tell them that there was a death match. Nick Gage is there. So if you don't know what's gonna happen,
Right.
like the cops were called, they had to write a report and talk about how this is all part of the show. They're like, why is that man bleeding? It's like, well, because this is the death match. Like they had to explain. I was like, oh no.
You know what wrestling companies like that have to start getting into? We got to start being hustlers. We got to start like thinking outside the box. I know the F word, we don't like to use it, but that's the time to use it. That's the time to say officer. It's wrestling. Don't you know it's fake? That's like, come on, man. You think this guy's really bleeding? What are you just tuning in? Like, come on. Like, I would totally just take that perspective and just be like, it's fake, man. What are you fucking wrestling?
It's wrestling. Duh. Everybody knows what happens. Like it's not real. That's
and then start making fun of him. This fucking police officer thinks wrestling's real.
Oh my god. You know how bad that would Nick Gage would have been arrested. He'd be back in jail. But it's funny though, because like we're recording this episode on September 2nd. By the way, I just want to be full transparent with people because today was the day you mentioned Matt Cardona. Today was the day that Matt Cardona released with the full picture of the title, the new GCW title looks like. And like the fact that someone like Zack Ryder, right, who back in 2011 was like super over and was like, he was doing incredible things with Long Island story. Yeah, he gets released. And like now you see how incredible of a job he's doing, like at GCW, like mocking Vince McMahon, like acting like John Moxley, having a spinner belt for the GCW title. Like, yo, he's on another level of awesome right now.
And here's my thing about Cardona, because I was a huge Zack Ryder fan. Like when he was doing it, like he's one of the people that really did change the business, like in terms of the way wrestling is released to the people. Like YouTube was still in its infancy. Like YouTube really wasn't, like it sounds crazy to say it, but YouTube really wasn't what it was, and Twitter wasn't what it was, and like so the whole, like wrestlers weren't doing that in terms of branding themselves and putting themselves out there separate from what the company was doing. He was one of the first to pick up the ball and actually say, this is what I can do. And he made fun of WWE and he called them out. He changed everything. However, and like this is my thing, when he finally did it, finally got his shot, they give him the United States Championship. Next night, him in the ring with CM Punk and Bryan Danielson all having their championships. CM Punk says, you guys hear from me all the time. I know you want to hear from them, and so do I. Gives Zack Ryder the mic, and all he fucking said, he finally has a championship. He finally has the microphone opening Monday Night Raw, and all he says is, woo, 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 you know it. And in that fucking moment, I knew what was happening. And as much as I hate to say it, I'm like, honestly, he fucking deserves it. Because even if that's what they told him to say, he should have said, fuck that. I didn't get where I am now by listening to you. So he should have taken that crowd and that moment, cut a fucking promo, a passionate one about how nobody gave him a chance, but the fans did it. Woo woo. You know, you could end with the woo woo, but he just went right to it. So then he gets released, and all we're kind of getting when Matt Cardona starts, you know, we saw him first at AEW, and it was kind of like the same thing. And I was just I felt a little let down. I'm like, come on, bro. I know you have it. Like, you've shown us that you can fucking think outside the box and do this, push the needle. So when he started doing the GCW stuff, I was just so happy. I'm like, yes. And him playing heel, he looks like he's having so much fun with it. And him parlaying that into a PBR sponsorship and commercials that are airing during prime time. Like, what? With fucking Hornswoggle and like a thong? Like, this is amazing. This is real life. Like, this is great. Like fucking Matt Cardona, bro. And then look at the Good Brothers. WWE constantly, like for years, didn't know what they had with them. Good Brothers are now on TV at least 2 nights a week, 2 different companies, mind you. If there's a New Japan show, it's going to be 3. Like, they work for whoever they want. They do their own shows. Their company promotes their own shows. They also, I'm sure, have some beer sponsorships. Like, how can you not look at these guys and just feel like the sky is truly the limit when it comes to these wrestlers that WWE have been releasing in 2021?
Yeah, they have their own liquor, right? Isn't Good Brothers liquor or something like that?
I think they have their own beer. They might have, if it's liquor, my guess would be a whiskey. I'm not sure.
I think it's a whiskey. I think they have a whiskey.
Good brews, maybe. And if that's not the name, it should have been.
It should. Oh, that would sound like something they would do. Like they would have the good. Yeah, I like that. Actually, you know what? I might just have to take that one and just if they haven't done it already. So I'm very curious, man. Like something that I would have to ask. So what's been one of like the best lessons that you've learned, like going through like podcasting wise?
So real quick, a lesson I just learned is that it's I think it's the Talking Shop beer. So it did happen. I don't know what the name is, but Talking Shop did have its own beer. Lessons I've learned in doing this. I don't know, man. I don't know if I learned much of anything. I like to talk, so sometimes I'll be talking too much. I don't hear that much. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I guess in one thing I've learned that really you just have to, like, if you want to do something, you just have to do it. Because, like, once again, we don't have a machine as the heel marks. We're literally just two people, man. Just like, like we're just Brady and Danielle. We created this. And then like when wrestlers like interact with us and when we reach out to people and they want to come on the show and like they've heard of us, it's like, okay. Well, obviously the journey's never done, but it's like in a way we have done what we wanted to do. There is a place in this industry for us. It might be, on the other side, still looking in, but we've got a better seat than others.
Yes.
So you know what I mean? And it's like I've definitely learned there's no pleasing everyone. Like wrestling fans, we are the most toxic fans in the world. Probably because we went through all our fucking life not having people to talk to about wrestling. All we want to do is talk wrestling, and everyone's like, nah, man, I don't fucking watch that. I'm gonna watch Jackass instead.
No, it was all like, it's like, yeah, man, like I stopped watching wrestling like when I entered high school. I'm like, what?
Which is
Why?
weird because I actually got into wrestling like when I was in high school. Like when I first year of high school, that was when I started getting back into it. Yes. I was watching when I was a kid. My mom came into the living room. She saw Goldust on television, and he was being Goldust, and so she turned it off. And like, I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. This is when I was like a kid. So then, like, eventually, like when I was in high school, my friend was like, "Hey, let's watch wrestling." He put it on. I think it was SmackDown, and I saw The Rock cutting a promo. And everybody was just like they knew every word. Like he literally had them in the palm of the hand. Like saying he was electric was not just a catchphrase. Like that shit was electric. And bro, I was hooked all over again. I was just immediately started digging into the tapes, DX, Stone Cold, all that stuff. Like,
yeah, I remember like it's funny because I talk about it, and I don't know if I've ever brought it up on the show though, but like. So my wife, man, when she was pregnant, right? It was like on this day I won't forget. So it was like February 7th, right? It was a Monday night. I was in Hawaii and I was in the middle of cooking, right? And they're like, "Your Wrestlemania host is," and all lights turn off, right? And they just hear, "Do you hear what The Rock is cooking? Or do you smell what The Rock is cooking?" And then like the lightning bolt came on, and I remember running out of the living room like full speed, and like. Just having goosebumps like all over, just watching The Rock come out and just like he didn't even say anything. He just stood there, and I was like, bruh. So yeah, I remember that. And then like 2 weeks later, I was back in the kitchen cooking, right? So this is while I was in the military. Y'all need to chill out. Anyway, so I'm cooking, and I hear The Undertaker, right? And he's coming out to Johnny Cash's theme song at the same time, and I was like, oh, that's badass. Mind you, I didn't even think about what was gonna happen next. Because then Triple H's music hits, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's Triple H!" They didn't even say anything. No words were exchanged, and just a whole promo was cut with no words. And I was like, "This is amazing." And just even thinking back to those moments, man, like I'm still getting goosebumps. Just thinking about like Rock's return, Taker's return, Triple H coming back, and they had the big match at WrestleMania. I'm like, bro, like wrestling is great, and I was like, I don't understand why people don't watch more of it.
Yeah, man, and it's like. Especially these days when like I don't know how to put it exactly, but I just feel like feminism is at an all-time high in terms of like women empowerment and all that stuff. And so when you have like at one point, obviously we're far away from it now, but like there was a female holding the Impact World Championship, and I feel like the outside world probably should have cared more when that was happening. The Four Horsewomen, that whole women's evolution, like granted, I think WWE had to commit to that a little bit more. Like, we probably should have gotten an Evolution too. But like, once again, like, I feel like between that and now AEW with Britt Baker and what she did with Thunder Rosa and that kind of, the women getting a lot more time and attention. It's been happening. Like, they took a while to build to it, but now I just feel like, so like, when you see how far women's wrestling has come all over again, it's one of those things where it's like, why are wrestling fans the only ones that care about it? Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, sometimes I feel like I said, we're just on our own man island, bro, and people just don't get it. And the one common thing I like to bring up when people are talking about like why they don't watch wrestling, and it's like a lot of the people that say it, like the ones that don't like wrestling because it's not a sport, the ones that would rather watch boxing or MMA. And it's like, all right, dude, that's cool. So MMA is great, right? MMA though, like, let you go back a few years when Ronda Rousey was like killing it. Ronda Rousey was like MMA was the epitome of popularity. Like, really, she hit that shit.
Yep.
All of her fights I watched on Facebook because they were all like 15 seconds long. And these people would pay like $100, wait 6 hours to see her tear some woman's arm off in 30. Like, really? That's worth your money? Like, you're gonna make fun of me? I'm getting 3 hours of entertainment over here. Like, I'm getting matches that you're going 15, 20 minutes telling me a story. Like, I'm getting feuds over months and months and months. They built up to that. Or with boxing, like Floyd Money Mayweather, he's I can't remember the last time he actually tried to knock anyone out. He doesn't. Everyone wants him to, and he's like, nah, bro, I'm going to give you 12 rounds of me getting my points. I'm going to win this thing because boxing is not a knock you out for your entertainment. No, this is a sport. So I'm going to get my points. I'm going to outlast him. It's not going to be fun to watch. You're going to watch me dance for about 12 rounds, but I'm going to make my money. And you spent $100 and waited 3 hours to see it. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I understand it. Wrestling is not a sport. It is sports entertainment, which means that I'm going to get my money's worth every time. Whether if I want outside the box things like an Orange Cassidy that most people won't get, but for someone like me, I just immediately connect to that character. I'm like, yo, this guy is genius. It's like, I'm gonna enjoy that. And then when he snaps and gives me a 20-minute classic, like, hell yeah, sign me up. That's for me, that's more entertaining than me getting invested in a fight that's not gonna last 3 minutes because it's no one's job for it to last 3 minutes. They're trying to get in and get out.
And the funny thing is you mentioned a key word, right? Because when you talk about UFC and you talk about MMA, I've brought this up numerous times with a bunch of my friends. I'm a huge, huge mark when it comes to UFC and in the mixed martial arts world. I don't care who it is. But the biggest problem that you have is that with wrestling, you have something to gravitate to. You have a character that you want to gravitate to. If you look at the UFC, right, there's nobody stands out. Like, I say that with love, right? Your characters, Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, right? Those are the two guys who are the brashest. I'm not
big on MMA, but I do like that dude, and I'm hoping you'll know his name. I've forgotten it, but the dude who takes the shoeies.
Oh yeah. God bless.
That guy is made for the WWE. That guy is made for this shit.
Is it Tula?
Tula? No.
Remember, I can't remember off the top of my mind. I know who you're talking about, but the thing is like, when you look at those guys, those are the guys who are standing out. And the reason why they're standing out is because they are so brash and people want to watch them get knocked out. It's like the whole Jake Paul situation right now, right? Everybody's paying to watch Jake Paul fight. They don't want to watch Jake Paul fight. They want to watch Jake Paul get his ass kicked. And guess what? As long as he keeps getting booked against guys who cannot box, sorry, Woodley, I'm just going to be honest, against guys who cannot box, you will not watch him lose. Like, you mean to tell me that Ben Askren, a man who has only one TKO ever in his career, suddenly he's going to get a boxing game, he's going to win? Get out of here with that nonsense, man. I was in tears laughing when people were like, Ben Askren has the chance to win this fight. I was like, he has no chance of winning this fight.
I'll say this though, it was pretty genius. Like the way that match happened, the fact that it was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because yes, everyone, and I'm a part of that. I tuned in to see Jake Paul get his ass kicked. Like the whole time, I'm like, come on, Woodley, what are you doing? Put him on his ass. And then when he hit him and he fell to the ropes and he just stayed there watching, I'm like, what are you doing? Hit him again. Hit his ass again. But like Cleveland was all about Jake Paul. That's their boy. That's their son. Like this guy has done good. So I loved the fact that. And I think if they did it somewhere else, like if they did it at Madison Square Garden, and you just had a bunch of vicious New Yorkers out here booing the shit out of him, it would have felt different, because then they would have continued to boo like everything. Like when Woodley is just looking at him and they're just kind of dancing around as boxers do, it just would have gotten bad. The fact that Cleveland was receptive and actually wanted to see Jake Paul succeed, it kind of gave it that big fight feel. So like I like for that one, it's like but as you were saying, like to your point, like Jake Paul, he's got the entertainment part down, and all they can do is build up the match. But at the end of the day, this is, as you said, this is somebody relatively new to boxing against people that don't really know how to box. So at the end of the day, are you being sports entertained?
Well, and it so it goes back to like I was saying, right? Like character wise, right? Like Rose Nakamura, right? Thug Rose, she's an incredible talent, right? And you know, the one thing about her is that she has her head shaved and that she's got hands, man. She can just knock people out.
What are you talking about, Thunder Rosa?
No. Rose Nakamura. She's a UFC fighter.
Nakamura. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought
Thug Rose. But the thing about Thug Rose, yeah. So the thing about Thug Rose was that, like, relatively when she was beating people like handily, she wasn't saying anything. She just wasn't talking, and so people were like, "Oh, that's cool." The moment that she said the reason why she's training so hard to knock out Zhile Wing Winning, the previous champ. She's like, the reason why I'm fighting her training so hard is because I don't like her because she's Chinese. And then she went and knocked her out. And like people were like, you don't like Chinese people? What's wrong with you? Now people are buying the fight because they want to see it because she caused controversy. And the thing in the UFC is that unless you're causing controversy, man, you're just another dude. And that's the problem with, like, my problem with mixed martial arts. Everybody has like lots of respect. Trust me, I am well aware of this. But to build up a fight, like WWE, AEW, Impact, it doesn't matter where, the indie scene, guys know how to get fans to invest because they understand it's a character-driven sport.
Right.
And you can't get people to buy in for you, man. It's crazy to me. I'm just watching people like, no, I can't watch because it's fake. Man.
Like, that's the beauty of wrestling, the fact that it is all about the storytelling. And it's like, listen, I understand you might not get it, but like, I don't understand the whole, like, oh, it's fake. What do you mean, like, it's fake? Like, it's a TV show. Like, I understand it's not real. I understand that that when Vince McMahon goes into a limo and it fucking explodes, that I did not just watch this man die on his own TV program. Like, I get it. Like, do you say that every time you're watching a TV show? I just don't understand. So to me, it just seems like they just don't get it. They don't want to get it. They're not gonna get it, and it is what it is, man.
It is.
I want to ask you a real quick question though, because I'm like looking at your hat, and I wanted to ask before we started, but let me just do it now. The 3 Count Podcast. So where did the name come from?
Man, what happens when you put the shoulders on the mat?
All right, so I'm like a huge, and I'm so happy. Like one of these days, I'm gonna get my courage up, and I'm actually gonna ask him to come on the show, and hopefully he will say yes. But the Hurricane, Shane Helms, he connects with the heel marks. Like he reaches out to us all the time, like you know, like shares, whatever. Ever since I cosplayed him as a Wrestlemania, we went to New Orleans, and I was the Hurricane, and like, you know, pictures got tagged, and like he's seen it ever since. This guy's like a huge supporter. We love him. But like, so he was 3 Count. He was part of the stable 3 Count, the fake boy band, and like they're one of my favorite underrated stables of all time. So like when I seen 3 Count, I was like, oh shit, I wonder if there's any. And then I'm looking at your like logo, and for me, it's just maybe it's the orange, but I'm getting like Taz and the 3. So like I'm just getting. So I was just curious if there was like a Taz or maybe even a Hurricane influence.
No. So what's crazy? Okay, so, and this is gonna be kind of funny, and people are gonna be like, "What?" So one of my friends, Derek Eason, shout out to him. He's actually the guy. So that T-shirt that's right above me in the white, he's the guy who actually designed it. And
Nice.
we gave him we just let him run with it. We didn't even give him color schemes. So him picking out the orange was because he picked out the orange. We originally were just like, yeah, whatever, white, black, red, it's cool, whatever colors you want to throw in. And then the orange came in there. And yeah, so when people see it, like you saying it, it's got like that Taz kind of theme to it. It's like, yeah, I guess it really does because
man.
it is badass.
I like it. We for most of our logos, we just rip them off of like 90s logos. Like you can't see it, but the shirt I'm wearing right now is the All That logo. We just put heel marks in it instead of All That.
I like it though.
Nickelodeon logo, like literally, we rip off everything. We took the Wu-Tang logo. Like if you guys have a logo out there, we about to take it.
Nice. I like it, man. I like it. So one thing I was gonna ask you, man, is what kind of advice would you give to like up and coming people who want to get into the podcasting business? Or whatever?
I mean, really, I'd say like I think I you know, kind of like we were saying before, I would say just do it. Like literally just do it. You know, I think promoting yourself is a big part of like everything. You obviously have to figure out how to do that. Everyone's got their own ways. But literally we started our podcast and it took us like a while, but like really like we just all we kind of did was just try to make it work. Like, all right, at first, when we first started, we talk and laugh about it all the time. When we first started, we suck. Like if people say, "Oh, I'm gonna go back and listen to your first," I'm like, first off, you lying because we have like over 200 episodes out. So only a crazy person would go back in time that far. Like I don't even know why you would do that to yourself. But also, it's like we shouldn't even have that anymore. We should remove like the first couple episodes we did because we sucked. And it's like, and it wasn't like that we're like, you know, bad at talking or whatever, but just the format was off. We literally went like down through Raw, like exactly like segment after segment after segment, broke it down. And listen, I listened to the Raw After Buzz. Shout out Flo Beto, my boy is a part of them. But it's like, so some there are some shows that can pull it off. We love to talk so much that it just wasn't our style. Like we need a little more organized approach, but at the same time, that little free will to do what we want. You know, and then I remember telling her when she was like, because we were talking about, you know, how are we going to get our name out there? Obviously, like, yes, just doing the podcast is fun, but you do have to make sure people, you know, just know the name. So we got stickers and we fucking plaster them around everywhere. I go into bars right there across from the stall, boom, put it right there. Like, so like we just vandalized all of New York City. We would travel, just do the same shit. But then, you know, I kind of realized we had to become content creators in a little bit of way, you know, get people to just pay attention. Like, and I remember the first video that I ever made for us to like just try, you know, make like a meme or whatever. It was after DIY beat now FTR, but the Revival in NXT. And there was that spot where Dash and Cash are holding each other's hands to prevent each other from tapping. So I took that, and it's like when I first seen it, the first thing I thought of for some reason was just in my mind, I'm like, never let go, Dash, never let go. So like I'm thinking of the Titanic theme, and I waited like 3 days, and nobody made it. And at that point, I'm like, oh, Brady, wake up. Why don't I fucking make it? So I made it, and then I seen somebody wrote like I was wondering how long it was going to take the internet to do this, and that was where I clicked like, all right, we have to become the internet now. Like that's what we are, the internet. So now it's just kind of like I'm always trying to come up with stuff that, and it's not even, it used to just be about like getting fans. Now I'm about getting wrestlers' attention. Now I like take a wrestler's clips and I make a video and it's like, all right, let's see if this wrestler likes this. Or I'll take a wrestler that no one's ever heard of and I'll post a video and be like, let's see if people start talking about this wrestler now. And it's like, I would never take credit for anything, but I can sit back and laugh at the irony of where I post, like for example, one wrestler I got into a few months ago, Ninja Mac. I love Ninja Mac. I had never heard of this dude before, though. I'd never heard of him. Like, he popped up out of nowhere like a ninja. So I start seeing his clips. And of course, I'm attracted to wrestlers that get a lot of hate also. And so Ninja Mac is he's a ninja. So, but obviously wrestlers that flip a lot are going to just there's always going to be those fans that, all they do is flip, blah, blah, blah. So for me, I'm like, well, that's the perfect wrestler that I want to make a video for. And I'm going to put as many fucking flips as possible. And then all of a sudden, for like the next 3 months, everyone keeps bringing up Ninja Mac. Oh, I hear his name all the time. And I'm just like, listen, good for you, Ninja Mac. You're doing your fucking thing. I might have helped a little bit, maybe. Bear Country reached out to thank us for making a video for them. And like literally 2 weeks later, I see them on AEW Dark, and they've been with AEW ever since. And so it's like, once again, Bear Country doing the fucking work, and they're killing it. But I'm glad that something we do might be able to be having a little bit of effect. And I love watching wrestlers like they'll reach back out. Oh, good looking, I just gained like 1,000 followers. You posted the video. It's like, all right, that probably wasn't me. But if you're gonna say it, I will take it.
Take the compliments. Yeah, so be a content creator, get your stuff out there, and then find a format that works for your show. That's the advice that we got from the great picks.
I'm glad you were able to break that down in something legible. I know I just rambled for about 10 minutes.
All right, man. So those are like all my hard-hitting questions, right? So we got to get into the second greatest segment of this podcast, because the first greatest segment, which everybody asked me about, is the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find on our debate show every Sunday live, or if you just tune into the episode any other time, you'll hear them there anyway. So this is the 3-count podcast, 10-count questions. And Brady, this is how it works, man. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you, and it's whatever the first answer is, that's your answer.
Okay, this is exciting.
So let's put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw. SmackDown.
Favorite upcoming talent?
Upcoming talent. Hit Row from NXT. The whole stable. All of them.
Hell yeah. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favorite color?
Red.
Sonic
but I always say blue. For red to wear, but blue because of the Giants.
Yeah, I got you. Sonic or Mario?
Ooh, shit. Sonic.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Oh, fuck. I'll be honest, bro. I'm not really a favorites guy. Probably because I have the attention span of a peanut. Shit, bro. I don't even... let's just throw out something random. The Sandlot.
All right. I'm done with that. It's a Saturday night. What you doing?
I'm probably drinking... either at a bar or at a friend's place, possibly at a wrestling show. Okay. But drinking and smoking is usually a part of my Saturday evening plans.
All right.
Me and my friends actually play Uno Flip a lot, and where the winner of Uno Flip has to give one of the losers a shot. It's very fun, competitive, and gets you wasted.
All right. Favorite faction?
Favorite who?
Faction.
I mean, I gotta go. I mean, it's probably Z Generation X. That's probably like my favorite. It's probably an easy one out there. But yeah, DX is probably my favorite.
All right. Nominate one person that you want to see on this show.
On this show?
Yeah.
Probably my co-host Danielle, because she didn't make it this time. She's trapped in Inclusivity, so I'd love to see Danielle on. But you know what? For the sake of you and pushing the needle, let's get Platinum Max Caster on your show. I feel like that'd be dope.
Yeah,
he could do a freestyle for you. That'd be sweet.
Me and him, yeah, we could freestyle for days, man. We could freestyle for days. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Motherfuck. Motherfuck for sure. Like, I mean, definitely like fuck as the curse, because fuck goes with everything. But like, I think fuck's too easy. So motherfuck, like a good motherfucker really sets the tone.
It really does. All right, man. Well, those are the 10-count questions, man. So the only thing I need from you now is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Listen, guys, it's at the Heel Marks everywhere you're looking for us. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, at the Heel Marks. Pro Wrestling Tees, we everywhere.
Bet. And there you guys have it. You guys can find them everywhere. I actually just recently became a subscriber of their YouTube channel, so I just want to put that out there. I think I'm like 275 now. I don't know. Anyway, that's not even about it. Here's what we got. That's it. It's the closing. So I'm going to tell you guys. But this is the 3-Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. And as I said, I'm your Sherpa, the man who leads you up this mountain called wrestling, because it is long journey to the top. But every once in a while, you need help. And that's why I bring in other people. And it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And so you guys see him here. Welcome, Brady, from the Heel Mars podcast. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait till this episode ends. You wait for the outro, and then you listen to another one of our episodes. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3countpod, give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3count podcast, and in there you can leave us a message and we will talk to you. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count podcast also has merchandise. Oh, at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3count pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.